Man, oh my God. Hey, we are live. We're live. Guess what, y'all? Guess what today is? Real quick. Guess what today is? Today, we will be having another segment of MCSC Told You So. You know, this has become one of my favorite segments since 2021 has rolled out because, well, everything that the MCSC network has predicted would come true is absolutely coming true. And what's frustrating is, once again, everybody should have seen it coming. So before we get started, I would like to ask you to like this video, share this video, make sure that you're subscribed, and make sure the notifications are turned on, because I know sometimes you know how YouTube gets, okay? You know how YouTube gets. We're live right now on both Rockfin and YouTube, by the way. So make sure that you're following us on both, because we're always making every single attempt to make sure that you get all the news in a timely fashion. It's obviously because seemingly everybody wants to stop us from being seen. It's okay though. I understand. I would want to stop us from being seen too. And here's why. For our first segment, we're going to be talking about one Sunrise Movement. Now, Sunrise Movement for a long time was actually considered almost the standard bearer for climate change policy, climate change activism, et cetera, et cetera. It's considered to be a youth-led movement, quote unquote. But it turns out, I know, surprise, surprise, that the organization that backed Joe Biden unapologetically after he said, listen, I need you to look at me. Turn the camera here. Make sure you get me focused in. I will not ban fracking. Joe Biden 2020. And they were like, okay, cool. We'll still back you anyway. Are you going to fix anything with the environment? No, not really. Oh, okay, cool. We'll still back you anyway. What happened to believe the science? Yeah, but my donors. Sunrise was like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever. We'll back you anyway. Instead of backing the movement, instead of challenging him at every step of the way, instead of saying, if you're going to be different than Donald Trump, then where are your policies that are supposedly different than Donald Trump? Now, some people might have wondered why that is. And luckily for us, we have this guy on the MCSC network that we have had all the privilege of working with and are proud to call family. His name is Robbie Yeager. And Robbie does this thing sometimes where he likes to just break news that could, if broken correctly and if given the right air, could cause existential paradigm shifts in the entire left. Which is why a lot of people don't like to give him credit for the news he breaks, or they'll only address things where, or only cover things or promote things where Robbie is breaking, quote unquote, anti-democratic establishment news while protecting the Sunrise Movement, even though we know at this point that they are a democratic establishment. And if you were ever doubting if the Sunrise Movement was the democratic establishment trying to dress themselves up as progressive, well, just look at this breaking news from Robbie Yeager. And by the way, we're going to go into more details about this with Robbie Yeager tomorrow, a little bit more in depth, because he's been breaking this news about Sunrise Movement for literally years now. And as he's been blowing this whistle, the only ones who have been covering it are guests. Again, of course, it's us, because nobody else wants to tell the truth. Everybody else just wants to be popular. Breaking. Sunrise Movement's newly released 2019 tax return show the group in 3.8 million plus. They brought in, 3.8 million plus in anonymous donations, 6 times their 2018 total. I wonder what could have changed. Small donors did make up 42% at 1.6 million. I mean, they did endorse Bernie Sanders. And then as we know, especially if you watch this show, we talked about the way that endorsements work, right? In 2019, 2020, the way endorsements work now is that you endorse to bring in money. You don't endorse to make a statement. You don't endorse to put a point, you know what I'm saying, to put a stamp on somebody and push them past the finish line. At least that's not how these organizations work anymore. Now it's to take advantage of somebody that's already has garnered the popular opinion, and then use that narrative and that clout to bring in money for yourself. That's how endorsements work now. Anyway, He goes on to say six donors made up 35%, $1.3 million with six-figure donations. 33 donors giving $5,000 to $75,000 made up the rest. He goes on to say, we already know that $500,000 came from George Soros's Open Society Foundations. Damn. So much for hating millionaires and billionaires, and you just happen to pick the right one. By the way, in case you're curious, this is no different than the Koch brothers donating $500,000 to whatever quote-unquote libertarian think tank that they put out. Just like there is no difference truly between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, there is absolutely no difference between George Soros and the Koch brothers, except for that George Soros was like literally a Nazi, admitted it on 60 Minutes and was like, they were like, yo, do you regret selling your own people out? No, not really. That's what he said. Not my words, that's his. Anyway. So he says that seeing a Sunrise Movement as a 501c4 dark money group, the rest will come out over time or not at all. And what Robbie also tagged is what he broke on February 1st, where he said recently released information shows Sunrise Movement received $500,000 from George Soros's Open Society Foundation in 2019. And he even gives you a link right here so you can go see for yourself. You know, I know a lot of these journalists like to take credit for Robbie's stuff. So, by the way, y'all make sure he gets all the credit for that because y'all know how they do Robbie, right? We all know how they do Robbie. And so I guess we're going to go into a deep dive of this with Robbie tomorrow. But what I want people to know and what we need to acknowledge is, once again, there were some people who are right about this group. And some of the signs, probably the most prevalent sign, was their little report card. One of the most prevalent signs was a report card. You want to see the report card? Let's bring up the report card. This is from December 5th, 2019, mid-primary. Today, we released our first batch of Green New Deal scoring and evaluation, where candidates stand on the fight for our lives and to push all candidates up their ambition, or to up their ambition. Bernie Sanders, 183 out of 200. Elizabeth Warren, 165 out of 200. Joe Biden, 75 out of 200. Now, I know some of y'all are probably like, of course. So, surprise, surprise. Sunrise Movement killed their link for the scorecard. But I'm going to tell you how we knew that Sunrise Movement was full of shit. Elizabeth Warren has actually been trash on climate change. She's done nothing at all whatsoever. In fact, when she finally did decide to make a statement, ladies and gentlemen, it was to promote green bombs. Like, quite literally, she was like, no, we just need the military to be more green. So they're the number one cause of climate change. Like, let's not address the military industrial complex. Let's just make sure that they're more efficient. So when they bomb people, there's not as much pollution from it. Joe Biden is Joe Biden, right? What a surprise. They actually gave Joe Biden an F- and still endorsed him anyway, with no inclination whatsoever that he would be moved left in any way whatsoever on climate change. He was very clear. I will not ban fracking. And if you were like, because like somehow he took the assertion that he might ban fracking offensively, he made sure to remind us of this. Now, the reason that they took the link down from the website, and I just had to re-verify to make sure that was the case. The reason that they had to take the link down from the website is because of also who they did not show love to, and who we were attacked for bringing, and who we were attacked for by bringing this up. So Bernie Sanders got the only A-. Bernie Sanders was not the best on climate change. They pitched him as that. Because like I said, it was about getting donations. Elizabeth Warren was not the second best, which is, once again, how they pitched her. She was not the second best on climate change. Joe Biden was definitely an F. That's true. Do you know who was the best on climate change? Tulsi Gabbard. Do you know who agrees with me? 400 environmental and climate change organizations when they endorsed the All Fossil Fuels Act, which is the most progressive and aggressive climate change legislation in the history of not the country, once again, but the world. 400 climate and environmental organizations from around the world endorsed it. There was literally no one who Bernie Sanders did not even have an actionable history of fighting for climate change. In other words, in all of his time in the Senate, at least at the bare minimum, over the last 2 decades, he's never even introduced comprehensive climate change legislation. Elizabeth Warren, same thing. Joe Biden, obviously. Do you know what they gave Tulsi, whose legislation is literally called the All Fossil Fuels Act, who AOC ran, the All Fossil Fuels Act, AOC ran on passing. Ilhan Omar ran on passing. Tim Canova, of course, who gets it right, ran on passing. Paula Jean Swaring ran on passing. All the Justice Democrats actually that ran that year all ran on passing Tulsi's All Fossil Fuels Act. Do you know what they gave her for that effort? Going to each individual organization and having them individually contribute to make sure that the most progressive climate change legislation did exactly what it was intended to do. They gave her a D-. So whenever we brought this fact up, we were told, y'all are just simps for Tulsi. We're like, no, you don't think it's peculiar that the only one who's introduced any actionable legislation that was actually considered to be the standard bearer for climate change legislation in the entire country? Like, you don't think that that's weird that they gave her a D-? When it should actually be, she's an A+. The whole reason Tulsi was in politics was because of climate and environmental justice. That's because she's from Hawaii, and that's where her bread was buttered when she was a local politician, then a state level politician, and then even a national level politician. That's why she got started. It isn't about Tulsi. It's how could you give the person who created the legislation that all the Justice Democrats ran on, that y'all support, a D-? Oh, because it isn't actually about who's the best. It's about how you get your money. As, once again, this breaking news presented to us by Robbie Yeager has demonstrated to us. They were rewarded. They raked in, once again, they raked in $3 million, $3.8 million, so almost $4 million. Almost $4 million in 2019 during the primary. In other words, all that lying, all that obfuscation, all that ass kissing, all the suppression of the actual candidate who was great on climate justice, the best candidate on climate justice, the only candidate in the entirety of the Democratic primary who literally had actionable legislation on climate justice. They gave her a D-, and nobody was suspicious about that because it was all about protecting Bernie and making sure no one got ahead of him. And it was ultimately all about protecting the Democratic establishment. So whenever Robbie was constantly breaking news about the money they were taking, and we were showing people like, y'all don't think that this is weird that they keep screwing over the one candidate who was the best at this? All they kept saying was ignore it. They're good for us. They're the best for us. Like, I was like, okay, well, like, really, real talk. Like, what have they even done at this point? What have they done to raise $3.8 million? You played the game. That's what you did. And they got all that money. Then they backed Joe Biden. And them playing that game, this is Robbie letting you all know they were rewarded for the game that they played. That's what happened. The reason that this stuff is so important, the reason that we double back to this, I know we joke often about like, oh man, like, yeah, we were at a game, what a surprise. We talk about this because how much of this could have been prevented if there was an acknowledgement of what was obvious, and then instead of ignoring this clear problem, this attempt to co-opt the movement, we would have held them accountable right then and there. The videos and the clips and the numbers start going viral right then and there. They were forced to adjust and pivot when it mattered, when we had leverage right then and there. And the people with the big followings, the people with the blue checks, the real leftists who acquiesce to everything the Democratic establishment tells you, they never told you the truth. Everybody believed, oh, why wouldn't these, why wouldn't TYT cover this time if Sunrise Movement was corrupt? You mean the same TYT that told you to vote for Hillary Clinton and pretended, like the same TYT that's been wrong about everything for 4 years? Hell, if TYT agrees with something, usually I'm like, well, shit, I don't agree with that no more, because it's probably the wrong stance. And if the right voices, the voices who were honest and genuine, even if it was difficult, if those voices had been uplifted, the Robbie Yeagers of the world, the Fiorella's Imposters of the world, the Steve and the Glories of the world, the Richie Medhursts, the Jimmy Dores, if those voices were uplifted when they were trying to tell you the truth, how much change could we have garnered? How much damage could we have prevented? And this is why we have these segments where we have to remind people not just where we're at, but how we got here and who was right and who was wrong. Because going forward, there's going to be a lot of lies put out. There's going to be a lot of propaganda put out. There's going to be a lot of ass covering coming out. As you've seen, right? All of a sudden, the same people who are telling you to vote for Joe Biden are like, oh my God, I can't believe Joe Biden is this bad. Oh God. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Democratic Party still has the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. They constantly pretend as if somehow Joe Manchin is the alpha and the omega of the Senate. Last time I checked, Chuck Schumer is the Senate Majority Leader. And they've been protecting him actively. But when everything was done under Trump, everything was Mitch McConnell's fault in the Senate, which, I mean, a lot of it was, rightfully so. Right? He was rightfully being blamed. But, hey, let's go ahead and attack Joe Manchin because Joe Manchin's safe. He's already known as a conservative Dem, and he's doing everything we want him to do. And he knows that if we're attacking him, it's a wink, wink. Hey, bro, you know you're safe, man. Everybody expects this from you anyway. You don't care. You don't care if you're hated. And Chuck Schumer gets to go over there and pretend like he is different than Joe Manchin or Mitch McConnell. Speaking of the Democratic Party, let's move on to our next topic. AOC. Good old AOC. Did y'all hear about what AOC said about Joe Biden? If in case y'all were wondering if she's gone full mask off. Listen. I had to zoom in to make sure everybody can read this. Ocasio-Cortez says Biden exceeded progressives' expectations. New York Congresswoman says at virtual town hall, I think a lot of us expected a much more conservative administration. Oh, man. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saluted the Biden administration on Friday, saying the new president had exceeded progressives' expectations in his first 100 days in the White House. The Biden administration and President Biden have definitely exceeded expectations that progressives have had. The New York Congresswoman, a star on the left of the Democratic Party, told a virtual town hall meeting, I think a lot of us expected a much more conservative administration. In March, Joe Biden scored a quote-unquote major victory when his $1.9 trillion stimulus and rescue package passed into into law without a single Republican vote. Really quick, everybody. remember when I had called AOC a sociopath and everybody was like, nah, you're being too hard on her. It's just because you like Tulsi Gabbard. It's just because you support her. It's just because you're a secret fascist or Nazi guy. It's because you're actually right wing. I was like, no, it's because she's deferring to the caucus on foreign policy. She's throwing Palestinians under the bus. She's leaving Ilhan Omar out to dry. She kissed Tulsi Gabbard's ass when she initially got elected. And then the moment she became a rising star in the Democratic Party, instead of backing the All Fossil Fuels Act like she said she would, she instead introduces a Green New Deal that she had no intention on fighting for. Then she throws Tara Reid under the bus after saying Kavanaugh should have, any Democrat who even thought Kavanaugh deserved due process even, had to be primary. But then the moment that Tara Reid holds Joe Biden accountable for what he did to traumatize her, it became, well, no. She didn't say she wasn't going to vote for Joe Biden, except for Tara Reid. It was very clear. Not only is she not voting for Joe Biden, but she's not voting for any Democrat or Republican because she realized how full of shit both of them are. And AOC threw Tara Reid under the bus during an interview. It wasn't the fact that AOC claims to be anti-war, but when legislation was being introduced by Tulsi Gabbard herself, and Tulsi Gabbard and Ilhan Omar actually, to end the war in Afghanistan, to end the war in Syria, which was introduced by Tulsi Gabbard, to end the war in Iraq, to ask to look at the negative consequences of sanctions on poor people abroad. AOC was silent on all of that. When she went to go introduce Bernie Sanders at an Iowa rally, all she did was talk about herself. And she actually forgot to mention Bernie Sanders' name one time. Like, she just forgot completely to mention his name at all. You can look at her movements. If you look at, like, she's a queen of gaslighting. If you ever looked at her Instagram live, she's a queen of gaslighting. When I said she was a sociopath, everybody was like, what? You're crazy. You're just a simp. You're just an asshole. No, I just literally look at things like, and it's right there. I don't know, like, what do y'all want me to say? Like, I don't make judgment calls off of what I want. I make judgment calls based off of how things are. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, but they wanted me to hope AOC would be better one day. And if you're mean to her, she won't be better one day. Don't gotta be nice to her. Now, I will say this about AOC. She was somewhat right. She said that the Biden administration and President Biden have definitely exceeded expectations for progressives. You know what? You are absolutely right about that. Because I wasn't expecting Biden to break Trump's deportation record in less than 3 months. I wasn't expecting Biden to put more kids in cages, leaving in some situations where the cages were being filled at 270% capacity, which we didn't even see under the Biden administration or the Trump administration. I wasn't expecting that. You're absolutely right about that. I wasn't expecting him to privatize the military-industrial complex so quickly and so obviously. I wasn't expecting him to immediately put sanctions on Russia after he claimed he was, but based off of a false claim, by the way, right? Based off of a false claim that there was a Russian bounty put on soldiers' heads, which came out as a lie. Oh, I know, surprise, surprise, the military intelligence community lied again. Wasn't expecting that to be so quick, and of course, I definitely was expecting them to not renege on the sanctions because that is par for the course. I wasn't expecting him to out the gate, knowing you have a House, a Senate, and the executive branch all to your little selves. You passed a COVID quote unquote stimulus bill all for yourself. all by yourselves, all by your lonesomes. Remember, no Republican votes necessary. And you somehow managed to give us less money than Donald damn Trump, bro. Progressives definitely weren't expecting that. I was. But you exceeded my expectations on how quickly you would reveal you were full of shit. I gave him till April, y'all. That man said, yeah, you thought that March 1st. You definitely exceeded my expectations there. You exceeded my expectations on how quick you would lie about the amount of money you were going to give your people that you promised to give money to if they went out and voted for y'all. Bruh, real quick. I'll be checking my bank account pretty frequently. And like, yo, once again, y'all, was there a glitch in the matrix? Did our $2,000 checks get lost in the mail? Because I'll be looking, $2,000 checks, you know what I'm saying? That was the promise. So there must have been a glitch in the matrix. Is that what it was? It couldn't have possibly been that Biden is a liar. And despite the fact that he's given us less money than Trump did for the COVID stimulus, by far, actually, it's not even close. It's not even close, bro. And he's not only giving us less money, but he's giving us less money and he's giving less money to less people. Despite the fact that he gave us less money with no actual incentive to do so, with no excuse as to why he did so, because he has the executive branch, the damn House, and the Senate. And he passed the bill with no Republican votes. He's exacerbated the immigration crisis. He's actively torturing more children right now. He's saying we need to give more money to the very police who are shooting us dead in the street and not being held accountable. Let's not pretend like Derek Chauvin is some like that. He's not a one-off, and we don't even know he's going to be sentenced yet. So we'll see how that goes. The man who once another person was killed by a police officer said, well, hold on, guys. There's no reason to have a riot. Let's not get out of hand. We don't want to break laws. What about if the cops break the law? Whoa, hold up. That's a little bit different. This woman is literally lying to you, dead to your face. And there were so many people who I know personally that knew she was a liar. They protected her anyway because of their careers. There's so many people that I know personally who knew she was full of shit because their clout was more important to them than fighting for you, than telling the truth so that you can make educated, autonomous decisions about who you choose to support with your money, your effort, your labor, your fight. This is the woman who excoriated Tulsi Gabbard for voting to abstain or voting present, who turned out to be right, by the way, and is telling you that he's exceeded expectations. They thought he was going to be much more conservative. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has been definitively worse than Trump. He's been demonstratively worse than the Trump administration. That's saying something. I said from the very beginning, people, I said, do you know the scariest part about Joe Biden is that Donald Trump has not been a good president. And yet, as bad as he was, the establishment gathered together and say, hey, we know you haven't been bad, but he hasn't, we know you've been bad, but you are not bad enough for us. You are not consistently evil enough for us. You're not overtly evil enough for us. You're not willing to screw over the people quick enough or screw us over bad enough for our liking. So We need you out. We're going to cheat for this guy. And we're going to show the world how we, in the quote unquote most diverse primary in the history of the Democratic Party, will elevate a fucking segregationist and everybody will accept it. That's what was scary about Joe Biden. Because he showed us who he was for 47 years. And we were like, yeah, but maybe he's different this time. But there will be people who will call members on my team fascists for calling out the fascists before everybody else did. And now they're in defense mode. Why? Because, once again, we were right and we're very unapologetic about how right we were. Because y'all smeared us, y'all attacked us, y'all maligned us, our friends, our colleagues, for being honest. Because for people like myself, a black man, Richie Medhurst, a Syrian man, Johnny, a Peruvian, Fiorella, a Peruvian, people like Glory, Caribbean. This isn't a fucking game to us. I've been kidnapped by police officers. I have been kidnapped by police officers, and because of the grip, the stranglehold that his fucking bill has over all of the criminal justice system, no attorney wants to take the case because it's against the Miami PD. I can't even get justice. They erased my hospital records. I can't get justice. This shit is not a game. And yet these fucking white progressives told y'all that we were the problem for fighting for our lives while making money off y'all motherfuckers because they're like, hey, no, they're not even that bad. Y'all know we care about black people more than those black people. You know we care about Latinas more than them Latinas. You know we care about women more than those women. We care about women in the Me Too movement more than Tara Reid. You gotta listen to us. She's crazy. The ones who went through it and bring y'all this news that we get attacked for bringing y'all this truth that we get attacked for bringing y'all, we were the ones they told, they called fascists. Fascist sympathizers. We were the ones that said we're fake news. We were the conspiracy theorists. That's so crazy. So at what point is when a conspiracy theorist is right literally every single time? Like at what point is it, oh no, actually we're the media. Y'all the conspiracy theorists, quote unquote. We're the journalists. Y'all the conspiracy theorists. We're the analysts. Y'all are just personalities. Y'all no different than Fox News. Y'all no different than CNN. They're no different than MSNBC. TYT has been wrong over and over again. And yet there is some, look, bro, Jimmy exposed Cenk as a whole racist. Somehow he is not canceled from Twitter. He's not canceled. They do get a lot of hate watches, but there is some invisible entity protecting TYT from any sort of backlash. Is that a coincidence? Is that weird? So why is it that the people who aren't towing a narrative, even when we're right, like Whitney Webb, like Jason Burmis, like Ryan Christian from The Last American Vagabond, like Richie Medhurst, why is it that we're the ones getting demonetized when we've literally been right? I mean, literally, Whitney Webb was told, oh, your information isn't wrong, but we banned you because you're right. We banned you because you're correct. I know you proved your point with mainstream media sources, but we don't like that truth. Meanwhile, AOC gets a lot of progressives. Bernie Sanders gets a lot of progressives saying that Joe Biden cut poverty in half. Cut child poverty in half. Lie. It is a lie, bro. They're able to literally lie. CNN never got banned off of Twitter for Russiagate, did they? Didn't they push that lie about Russiagate? They pushed that lie about the Russian bounty. They pushed the lie about hydroxychloroquine and zinc. Yes, that they retracted. Y'all don't believe me? Hold up. Don't even worry about it. I got you. We gonna hold up. Two coronavirus. Man, hold up. Let me bring this up real quick. Because I want to tell y'all how we get banned for being right while they get to lie and get protected after being wrong over and over and over again. Two coronavirus stories retracted after questions emerged about data. And that's some wild shit, right? Because they're loud as hell when it comes to pushing the lie that like was disproven, not by people like myself. I'm quoting doctors. I'm talking about actual literal doctors, ER doctors. My best friend's dad is an ER doctor, was confused as hell. Like, hold up, hydroxychloroquine's killing people. Well, that's a pretty damn high standard. Because I give that shit to people every single day. Every single day. And these old people with heart problems are not dying from it. Two influential medical journals retracted separate coronavirus studies Thursday over concerns about the data use in both studies. Data that came from the same international registry. The authors of the studies, one published in The Lancet and the other in New England Journal of Medicine, requested the studies be retracted because independent auditors weren't able to access all the information needed to verify the data because they were lies. Both studies used data from data analytics company Surgisphere Corporation, funded by the way, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The retracted Lancet story, published May 22nd, found COVID-19 patients treated with hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine were more likely to die. Bro, die. That was the standard. That was the standard, was death. And nobody was like, bro, we might need to actually see these deaths. You're telling me people in your study are dying? And bro, we need some obituaries. That is a fucking hell of a standard, bro. The study had provided a counterpoint to President Trump, which is what's always his intention, who has called, and this is even them still trying to be like, well, no, listen, this is why we had to do it, man. Y'all know how Trump get. Y'all know we had to lie. Y'all know how Trump get. It wasn't about the facts. It was about beating down Trump. So it says the study had provided a counterpoint to President Trump, who has called hydroxychloroquine a game changer for COVID-19 because it was. Ivermectin, probably better. Several countries and the World Health Organization paused ongoing studies after looking at the efficacy of the drugs based on the Lancet study, although the WHO resumed its study on Wednesday. Yeah, because they got called out. Still, look, this is them trying to justify their bullshit. Still, other studies have found COVID-19 patients did not benefit from treatment with hydroxychloroquine, and they may have experienced serious side effects. They may have. What are the other studies? Oh, interesting. So this is from June 4th. This is from May 11th, from the same year. So you're using an outdated study. Oh my God. What a surprise. What are the other studies that they used? The study was published Monday at the Journal of American Medical Association. It follows the study published Thursday at New England Journal of Medicine that also showed the drug doesn't fight the virus. So the study that got debunked is the other study. But we're the ones getting kicked off of YouTube. We're the ones who are getting smeared. We're the ones who are getting demonetized. We're the ones who are being suppressed. Not the CNNs of the world who can literally lie to you to your fucking face. Not the TYTs of the world, but the ones who have gotten it right over and over and over again. Surprise, surprise. But I'll tell you this before we go, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why. Because we keep getting it right at the most pivotal moments in history. And they want to make sure that nobody knows that. So we can only do so much. At this point, it's up to y'all. When we make these calls to get onto the street, y'all have to meet us there. Our network has thrown, I think, 5 protests, 6 or 7 total in the last 5 months for Assange, for and for free speech, in defense of Black lives. These people do so much work. When we hold these protests, we need y'all to show up, to promote them, to share them when we go live if you can't be there. When we tell these truths, you can't just watch the videos anymore. We're not at that point. You have to post them. You have to share them. You have to make it your mission to make sure people hear these messages. Because you can't do everything that Fiorella or Pasta or Johnny does, or Steve or Glory or Allie. You can't do necessarily, because obviously the time it takes, the research that Robbie does, but what you can do is you can be an activist within your capacity. And most of you, if not all of you, have the capacity to share this shit like your lives depend on it, because it actually does. It quite literally does. The only way we get to make the change we need is if people are aware that there is a change necessary. That people are aware that there is a problem. And that people are having a discussion from the right framework, from the right parameters. Because what they do initially is try to control the parameters of discussion so that you're pigeonholed into debating something that's completely irrelevant if you don't address the foundational issue. So we can't keep pretending like we can be passive in this fight, ladies and gentlemen. None of us can anymore. I know before I would tell you, I know if you're busy, I understand. It's not. It ain't one of those situations. If you're at work, share videos, show your coworkers, show your family, piss them off, make them uncomfortable. Talk to any and everybody. Don't let nobody try to fucking gaslight y'all and tell y'all can't talk to the other side. They're a victim of the same propaganda we grew up to. They're victims. You know who is not a victim? These liars who know better. And they tell you otherwise because of their pockets, their money, their bank account, their agenda, and their clout. Those are not the victims. The victims are the ones who are stuck in their ways, but they don't know any better because, once again, they're victims of the same propaganda. But we all know the people who have had the most influence, quote unquote, over the left, they do know better. They don't care. They literally don't care if you die. They don't care about this planet. They don't care about your family or your friends. They don't care about your job. They will look you in your face like AOC did during that virtual town hall and fucking lie to you. Why? It's easier and it gets me paid. That's why. I would like to know what your thoughts are about this video. Like this video, share this video, leave a comment below. Make sure y'all go follow us on Locals as well. Make sure you following us on Rockfin if you haven't. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And of course, make sure your notifications are turned on, because I know you gotta hit that notification bell and then come back and check every 2 weeks, because it's you're probably been forcibly unsubscribed, because that's what they do. So yeah, and make sure we always have content going up on the page thanks to the amazing work of the people at the MCSC network. We will be doing all the conference coverage that y'all been looking forward to from yesterday's conference. That's gonna be doing that tomorrow. I'm gonna post the panel live for everybody to look at tomorrow, if y'all want to have a conversation about it. And then for my evening show, I'll actually be discussing the panel before I have Robbie on. I'm gonna do a detailed breakdown of the panel. So that's gonna be fun. We'll have a great time. All right. So you definitely want to check that out. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.